Welcome back, Lil Rhody listeners. This is whatever podcast, YouTube video, whatever number it is. But anyways, we're gonna have some fun conversations today. A little different. We're not gonna be talking about so much about current events in any league, but we're gonna be talking about fun topics more so. And with that being said, here's a short video from our sponsor.
Anthony's Jewelers presents Rhode Island's biggest diamond, wedding band, and gold chain sale ever. Interested in buying a diamond at 60% off, a wedding band at 50% off, or gold chains at 65% off? Round diamonds, princess cut, and oval diamonds are being shipped at 60% off for this sale only. Go to anthonysjewelers.com to make an appointment or call 401-996-2100. Rhode Island's biggest diamond, wedding band, and gold chain sale ever. Now going on. Anthony's Jewelers, North Providence, where Rhode Island gets engaged.
Like Josh said, to go over to our topics we're going to talk about today. I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay in the background as well.
Yeah.
Something different. There'll be all different games in the future, like we said in the previous video.
And like always, too, we're your hosts. I'm host Josh, host Aaron, and then the other guy.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
The other guy, Mr. Kyle Finn, the future Nesson worker.
You got that right.
But Kyle, let's have you start off because you weren't in the previous one and on our topics. Let's have you start off. We're just gonna keep it broad. The first topic we want to talk about is super teams. Now this goes for any sport, but we just want to know your opinion on super teams. Like, is that good for sports? Is it bad for sports? Is it like corny? You tell us.
I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of back and forth on them. Here's the situation. You have the NBA currently. You got a super team in each of the conferences. It's kind of – the NBA is kind of unwatchable because you kind of have a general feeling who the NBA Finals is going – like what the matchup is going to be.
It's not that hard to predict.
Yeah, it's most likely going to be the Nets if they can get a full squad out there, like their full 5 All-Star squad that they have. And same with the Lakers if Kobe and not Kobe, he's dead, but LeBron and AD on the court as well, along with everyone else. But in terms of other things where you have like football, where you have the Buccaneers and now potentially the Chiefs, you kind of don't really know anything because we didn't really expect a whole lot of the Buccaneers. They kind of came out of nowhere. They were a wild card. They weren't really expected to make it far, maybe the divisional round. They really shocked us and made it to the Super Bowl and ended up winning. So depending on the sport, it's very unpredictable. But basketball, unfortunately, is so predictable. It's very
Basketball's
unwatchable.
The easiest, though, to form a super team on. Obviously, 10 guys are on the court at the time, 5 on each team. So, it's kind of easier for them. And they're all closer, too. It's probably the smallest league. Obviously, there's way more people in the NFL, more teams, but, rosters are much bigger. Not everybody knows each other, but I feel like in the NBA especially, it's a kind of like a buddy league. Like, a lot of guys came up together playing AAU, playing high school ball. So, they pretty much all know each other.
Yeah, the only other sport I can really see that being a real issue in is baseball. And
again, it's baseball too.
Yeah, because again, it's another team where it's like only 25. Usually, like the outfielders know the outfielders, infielders, pitchers, same kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
they all play AAU together too.
Yeah, they all have their connections. They have phone numbers. They have social media to get in contact with each other. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe there's any kind of tampering rule in Major League Baseball. Someone might have to fact check me on that though, but I haven't really heard of anything of that. So it really is easy to make a super team. We see with the Yankees, you have Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. There's not really much I can say. They should have won last year though, but they blew it.
Yeah, it's just like,
rip to them.
Would you say as well, is it easier to build, like, we haven't really actually talked about hockey much, so maybe we can get a hockey podcast out in the future, but do you think like hockey is in the same realm of basketball when it comes to like super teams? Like, because there's not that many people on the ice. Obviously, you say the same thing. It's a 5-on-5. Obviously with the goalies is 2, so it's like 6-on-6 technically. And it's the same thing. Like, you can get one really good line that could dominate almost every other line in hockey. Like, is there a hockey team out there that's similar to like the Nets, do you think?
I'll be honest with you. When I saw the Tampa Bay Lightning a few years ago when they got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets in that first round, before that, like they had 60+ wins. They were so dominant. They won the top league. They got the most points out of everyone in the league.
The
I forget
President's
what
Trophy.
the President's Trophy.
Yeah.
So like they were obviously the clear favorite to win though, and then they got swept, and then everything was like, oh my god, what's going on here? Same with the Bruins. Like again, they won the President's Trophy. They
And
made
then
it to the
choked.
and then they choked in Game 7 at home. So that's the thing, though. Hockey is just so unpredictable. It's just such a fast-paced sport. Basketball can be tempoed. Baseball can be tempoed. Hockey can't be because it's so fast. Like the line changes happen as the play is going on. You can have multiple shots within seconds, rebounders, fights, and all. It's just so unpredictable. Basketball, there's no fights and there's none of that other stuff. Like it's either you make it
Yeah,
or
other
you
sports are
rebound it.
like more calculated, that's for sure.
Yeah, hockey's just really unpredictable, especially like the puck can really fly off like the glass or something and take a crazy bounce. And we've seen it multiple times. I don't know
Yeah.
how. Yeah, I've seen it, but I don't know how often
Low
you guys
scoring
watch
games in
hockey.
general, though, are more like, are less predictable, rather.
I'm not gonna lie, hockey doesn't get the respect it should. If for the viewers and the listeners, I recommend you go at least to your local hockey team, like an AHL team. Like for us, it's the Providence Bruins. Tickets are only $10. I can guarantee you'll have a very fun time for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I was like the same way like that, but we can get into soon if the viewers want, we can do a hockey podcast in the future. But I agree with that statement. But just add in my 2 cents for the super teams. I think like it's weird to say because super teams are kind of necessary in sports because it's a viewership sport. Obviously, every sport is based on viewers. So you could say, like, we could say, well, the NBA is becoming unwatchable. But guess what? I always find myself watching the games anyways. That's just me. I'm
Yeah.
a sports
I
fan.
mean, I
I'm
still
a
enjoy
sports
the
fanatic.
product. I
Yeah,
just like, I get what people are saying.
I'm still gonna watch. I still have my favorite players. That's never gonna change. Even if the Celtics go 1-81 next year, I'm still gonna watch probably 50 of those games. So it doesn't really make a difference. But I think super
At the
teams.
beginning of the season,
Yeah,
not
I
at the end.
I do think though, to add on to it, like I do think it's necessary because super teams never really last. Like there's dynasty teams, but there's a difference between a dynasty and a super team. Super
But let's
teams
be honest, too.
are
Like,
like
how
two,
often
three
do we get a
years.
dynasty? Like, once a
No,
decade,
it's
twice a
very
decade, if that.
it's very random, and
Yeah.
it's based on like a dynasty is like sustained on both levels, mostly coaching staff and superstars. Like the
Yeah.
Patriots, you could say, okay, Bill Belichick and Brady stayed together for 20 years, so that's sustained success. That formula was never going away. They just
So
keep
let me ask you
filling
this,
guys.
too. Like, specifically to the NBA, how many dynasties were there, like, that you can think of, like, since the Bulls? Like,
Since
post
the
Bulls.
Bulls,
Yeah.
the Warriors,
From Bulls till now, are you asking?
Yeah. So obviously the Bulls, like, obviously the Celtics, too, and, like, Lakers and all those
does
teams.
LeBron
But,
count
like,
as
I
a
want to focus
dynasty?
on, like,
Uh, Truthfully,
post Bulls.
if I was to answer this, I would say there was three. I would say Golden State Warriors most recently,
Yep.
LA Lakers in the early 2000s, and the Spurs.
Yeah. What about like LeBron and Miami Heat? Would you consider that a dynasty?
I would just pick LeBron. I wouldn't even pick the teams. I'd just pick LeBron. LeBron himself
Yeah,
was
fair
the
enough.
dynasty
I
because
mean,
he
he took
went to
his role
9
players
straight
with him, too.
finals.
So,
Well,
like, he had certain guys that he liked playing with. I'll give you that.
That record was broken. I know hurt because he was hurt his first year of the Lakers, but he went. What was it, like 9, 10 straight finals in a row? So like he himself
Yeah.
was a dynasty, and that was on multiple
Yeah, it's
teams. That was
true.
with Miami, back on Cleveland again. So that was two different teams. I wouldn't say neither of those teams were Miami. Technically, I guess was dynasty. I mean, 4 years, 4 finals. So, I
Well,
mean,
would you consider LeBron going 10 times in a row a dynasty despite not winning the whole thing? He only won his conference each time.
I would say it's a dynasty because of the fact that he won.
I mean, he
know
won 4 out of 10,
he
so.
didn't win them all. I understand, but he did win almost half of them. I think like if he went to 10 and lost 10 or lost 9, like you can
No, yeah,
you can
we
provide
wouldn't
the
even be
facts.
talking
But
about him as the
he
GOAT.
won
Not
he
at
won
all.
he won almost half of them. So, and also at the same time, in two of those finals, he was kind of outmatched for what it was. He kind of dragged a really crappy Cleveland team against a really good Golden State team. So, I'm not
Yeah, the
saying the
dynasties were
I'm not
matched
saying the
up.
first one. I'm not saying the first Cleveland team he went to was like super team. I know he had Kyrie and Love, but there was another one where like his second best player was basically friggin' Kyle Korver, Grant Hill, and J.R. Smith. Like he dragged that team
Did you say Grant
caliber
Hill?
of George Hill. Yeah,
Yeah,
Grant Hill
Yeah.
probably was on the team some point too. I
probably.
mean,
Hey,
they had a bunch of 4-year-olds
old
on that
Grant.
team. No
hey,
one
hey,
knew.
listen, you're also forgetting about 2007. Did you see the team that he had to carry
Yeah, and
just to
that
get
was
swept in the finals?
that
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah.
that was young legs LeBron. It was impressive. I think it's more impressive now that an older LeBron took a very similar role player led team like that. Like they were both impressive. Don't get me wrong, but that most recent one when he dragged like a bunch of role players together, like Jeff Green, and it was all guys like that. He gave him 10 points, but yeah, he's a role player. LeBron and a bunch of role players went to the finals. They beat the Celtics. I think they beat the Raptors and
But
Pacers.
let's
I
be
think that
honest
year
too, though.
too.
Also getting there a good amount of the times was kind of a cakewalk.
Yeah,
The Bulls, like they
wasn't the
never reached
hardest.
their potential. Obviously with Derrick Rose and his injuries, but just trying to think about it, who's probably the best team that he had to even get past in the East
Well, the best team that LeBron probably ever had to face was the
in more
Warriors,
recent
but that
years.
wasn't the
No, no,
East.
no, no, like on the Eastern Conference, like
Obviously, the Celtics. Probably the
yeah.
Celtics.
And the Celtics really, we can be honest, they didn't have
His
much of a fighting chance.
his last
It wasn't hard to
year,
pick like the Cavs or the
yeah,
Heat.
like his last 2 years in Cleveland and then the 4 years in Miami when he had to go against Boston for a lot of those years. I think 5 of those 6 years they faced Boston or something like that. So, and then of course he goes back to Cleveland again for the second time, and of course he's facing Boston again. Beat him both times, of course, because Boston just wasn't that. They were, the 1 seed in 1 year, but they were overrated 1 seed, very weak East. So
Yeah.
he just always beat Boston. After like the first like 2 years, Boston beat him. It felt like he beat Boston every year. But just to go back on it, super teams happen. It's a
Yeah, they're
league where
part of the game.
everybody wants to be on top of each other now. It's like,
It's a business too. I mean, obviously teams are going to do what they can to be the best
yeah,
team out
I
there.
don't blame them,
Any
especially
advantage
like
they can have. Yeah,
you
I
look
don't
at the
blame them
Nets
either from
now.
from a team standpoint.
You look at the Nets now. Blake Griffin is getting paid like 20-something million dollars from the Pistons to play on the Brooklyn Nets to be on a team that's probably going to go to the finals.
Yep.
He's getting paid almost, 8 figures from another team to like be on a team and be a role player for a finals team, basically. So that's the crazy part about super teams. It's necessary, but also annoying. It happens, but they fall apart. These
They do. They
Nets,
don't last too long.
these Nets are not going to last, but they will be fun to watch over the next 2-3 years because that's when all the contracts are, for.
Yeah.
There's another 2 years of Durant and Kyrie and Harden, so that's going to happen for 2 more years no matter what, unless the injuries happen again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we gave our fair share about
Yeah,
super
enough on that
teams.
topic.
The second topic I wanted to go through is go to the other level of basketball, college basketball, on the one and done rule. Just same thing as the super teams. Like you could say whatever you want about it. I personally think, just to start the conversation, was one and done rule is good because, for one, I think the league, what makes the NBA still at least a decent product, is the fact there's a lot of youth. You watch the NFL players, a lot of these guys have to come out of their junior year, so they're already 22, 23, 24 years old, maybe. The fact is, now, the NBA, you're getting 18-year-olds come in, 17-year-olds, just turning 18, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, even guys who've been in college for 2 years are 20. So it's crazy to see the talent come in. I like the one and done rule. I like the fact what they're doing with the G League rule now that you're allowed to go there for a year. I wish that they would put more sponsor on it, and I wish they would show that team more. But
The
of
thing
course,
is, just nobody wants to watch the G League. That's the problem.
yeah,
There's no fan bases for it,
yeah. God,
and
you
nobody's
go,
gonna want to be
Josh.
a fan of
Tell
like
me
a
your
1 year
opinion.
team.
Tell me your opinion on
Um,
one and done.
I also do like see the point in some respects, like how it does protect certain kids, who fall out of the league and we never hear their names again. But then again, you could say the same thing for like going to that 1 year in college. Obviously, Trayvon Duval, we'll never hear his name again, probably. He was a Duke point guard for those of you who don't know. and he just didn't live up to expectations. Top 5 player in the country out of high school.
My favorite player.
So that will still happen, but the point is though to have kids who aren't ready, who think they are, to go to college, get an education, to have some type of backup plan, even though most of them stay in basketball regardless. But I do understand that aspect. It's like Amani Bates, like he's so ready. Like you can't hold back someone like him.
Yeah, and we've said this before. He won't be. He's committed. I'm putting the air quotes up for people who
Yeah,
can't see.
air quotes
Obviously,
committed to Michigan.
he's committed to Michigan State. He's not really committed to Michigan State.
No,
I bet his mom or dad wants him to go to Michigan State, but one of them knows that this kid's probably gonna be one of the better players. It's like Zion. Did Zion need to go to Duke for a year? No.
no, not at
Zion would
all.
have been doing similar things in his first year.
But you know what though? And Zion actually, to help support the one and done rule, Zion was like I think 7th by 24/7 Sports in high school, and
Yeah.
then he was undisputably
The
like
number one
considered
pick.
the next best prospect. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What do you think, Kyle?
So in
I'll
that
be
case, it did help him.
I'll be honest. I go back and forth with this rule also because before this rule, you have some NBA legends that never went to college. For example, Tim Duncan, LeBron James, Kobe.
No, Tim Duncan went to Wake Forest, dude.
Oh, who's
Kevin
the other?
Garnett,
That's
Kevin
who it
Garnett.
is. Yeah, yeah.
Dwight Howard too.
Kwame Brown.
Well, nobody cares about Dwight Howard. But
Kwame
yeah,
Brown didn't go to college.
who didn't go?
Kwame Brown.
Oh, no, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but anywho, yeah. So you have a few legends that never went to college, but there's also a very decent amount that obviously came from college. So honestly, in my opinion, I think players should do whatever they please, and frankly, if they don't meet up to the standard, that's on them. They can always leave, get the necessary training, and I believe that they should have the ability to find they should implement a system to where they can come back. Because here's the thing though, I always believe someone deserves a second chance. Nobody's going to be perfect on the first chance. Can you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys need
rarely,
like
at
the
least.
extra. A lot of these guys need like the extra, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
So
You know
sometimes
what?
they get drafted as a prospect, like they're an actual prospect. Like,
But
oh,
I
he's
will
an
say
NBA
this
guy.
too. Aaron, that you brought up Kwame Brown. I didn't think about this before, but it actually protects teams from wasting their future. Like if you have the first pick, like Kwame Brown were to go to college, he probably wouldn't have done as well, and he would have never been taken first overall. So in a sense, it kind of protects teams too.
Well, here's the thing though. That's on the team though. If they make
is, you're right.
if they make that choice, they got to hold themselves accountable. Which
No, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, but because they have the best. Some teams have the best of the best, though. They should be able to detect like, oh, if this guy's going to be good and stuff. And like you saw Stephen A's rant on Kwame where, his motion is terrible. So if that's the case, why
get
did
better
their
scouting?
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. How are their scouts not able to pick that up though? But someone who was able to watch him literally for 5 minutes was able to do a better scouting report than the people that actually get paid the millions to do that.
Yeah, I think that's part of like just to finish up on this. Like, I think like some of these prospects get drafted. Like I was gonna say before, like when you draft Zion, he's not a project. He's someone
No,
who can
not at all.
improve, obviously, but he's someone he's a monster. He's gonna come and he's gonna dominate. But a guy like so say next year for this year's draft upcoming, guys like Cade Cunningham, Jalen Suggs, Jalen Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Mobley, like those guys don't need the extra help. You know what I mean? But a guy like Matthew Hurt on Duke, he's shown that he could be an NBA caliber player, but he had to come back for a second year of college because his first year wasn't as good as a 5-star.
Did he declare yet? By the way.
No, he hasn't, but he probably will. I mean, he gave him like 17 and 8 a game. He was a pretty good player.
I
But
feel like
the-
though he's going to maintain his eligibility, but yeah, sorry to sidetrack, but
No, that's perfectly fine. I think like a guy like him is perfect. Like he's the perfect definition of a prospect because if he goes to the correct system, he's a stretch 4. He's today's NBA's game. A big guy, 6'10", 6'11", who can shoot the 3-pointer, good post game, like halfway decent defense. That's how the NBA is now. They don't care about defense. They care about scoring. They care about a guy who can come in. For the people who don't know who he is, I guess the one player that comes to mind is he's similar to like Kevin Love. Just not as good as a rebounder, but a stretch guy, good post move, good IQ, smart dude.
That's something he can work on when he's able to, like when he's able to get into the NBA. Obviously if he does, that's something that he can work on during training camp when he gets drafted, stuff like that, and continue to build as he plays more games.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's like the point I was trying to say. Like, he's one of those prospects that may need like a year or two of extra help, and that's why the one and done rule should always stay in place. But the thing is, it's like, if it wasn't in place, he would have to stay. I mean, he was staying regardless. But do people really want to see Evan Mobley for another year? Not
No.
really. He's not necessary. Do people want to see Cade Cunningham for a second year? I'm sure Oklahoma State fans would be ecstatic, but it's not necessary.
I mean, I would love to see these guys as 4-year players, honestly,
Yeah.
and see what they could
There's
do.
no
But
more
yeah,
like
it's
JJ
not
Redicks
necessary.
and stuff like that. Like
They're ready
JJ
to get the
Redick,
money.
like JJ Redick in college was nasty. He had
Yeah,
to
they
stay
have
out
nothing
4
to
years and
prove.
stuff.
Is my
Yeah.
point.
So yeah, I think that hits a pretty good one and done. Just to quickly go into the next one. This won't take too long. I think this is pretty consensus pick. So obviously everybody knows now the NBA playoffs are 1-8 because East and Western Conference and stuff like that. Do you think that the NBA should implement a 1-16 where it's just the 16 best teams instead of no more of like the 38 and 44 Orlando Magics getting an 8 seed in the East, but the 50 and 32 Spurs in the West missed out in the playoffs because they were 9 seed. Now I know there's plans this year with the 9s and 10s, but hypothetically, just follow along like that mindset.
Right. Yeah.
I think it
Personally,
should be. So
I would love to see that. I think it'd make the game much more interesting. Like I said to you many times in the past, nobody wants to see losing teams make it to the playoffs. That's just not good for the league in general. Like you said, the Orlando Magic losing record, Detroit Pistons in the past, whoever, there's so many examples we could name. And it's mostly on the Eastern Conference. The West is for whatever reason, but yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
yeah, I think it's a pretty consensus. I know Kyle. I know you. We talked about this the other day as well. I think you agree on it.
Yeah, I would like to see a 1-16 kind of ordeal. I know like the 1-16s, the 2-15s, like that kind of stuff. Like we expected those to be like, blowouts and stuff though. But I think the middle of the packs can be interesting games. Like those would definitely be very interesting.
Yeah, that'd be very exciting, dude.
Especially because it would
Shake
create
things up completely.
not only that though, but as well as create new rivalries, which is also what the NBA seems to be lacking. Because there's really no passion outside of division rivalries.
Even those are weak, dude.
Yeah, like the only one people can really name is Lakers and Celtics. So, but when I watch the games between them, I don't feel anything.
I know. Is there any real rivalries right now in the NBA? Maybe the Battle of Los Angeles a little bit, but that's probably it.
Yeah, and that's them, and that's also like them trying to figure out who's taking over Staples Center, like who's getting kicked out. Obviously, it's going to be the Clippers, but
stadium finally.
I think the best way, because I know travel is one thing that's going to be a pain in the butt. I suggested that they keep the playoffs in one city or in multiple cities near where they're going to hold the main.
Yeah, the problem with that is
finals.
The only problem with that is like it's not like college where it's like Final Fours in one site. So these teams, they own the stadiums mostly, and they don't want to give up that revenue.
That is true though, but I feel like the NBA would find a way to make that all work out, because I think like if you bring it to like New York City, like there's 10 million people there, and plus when you bring tourists over, like people are going to find something to do and stuff and get them to explore and just have an overall fun time instead of killing the players, making them to go coast to coast back and forth if it happens to go to a game 7, when in reality like that's not what they're trying to do. Like they complained a few years ago about like saying load management, I need rest, this, that, and that wouldn't really help it.
Yeah, just for the heck of it, just looking now, like I would say today, we're doing this on April 8th. So just for the heck of it, I looked up the 1 through 16, like the top overall records, like the whole league, no East and West, right?
Right.
You're just like a look at some of the matchups, like if the NBA, if it ended today, right? The Phoenix Suns, the 2 seed, would face the 15 seed Boston Celtics. That'd be a pretty interesting first round. I think that'd be better for viewership as well, for one, because that'd be a first round where
That'd be
a
really
15,
exciting.
yeah, like a 15 seed could potentially beat a 2, but it's like that's the whole point. You want the top 16 seed teams in the league in the playoffs. Nobody wants to see the top 5 East teams and then the top eight West teams, but like 3 of those West teams didn't get to make it because they weren't eligible for the playoffs. But
Yeah.
I think it's more of an interesting aspect of just seeing that type of thing. Like, or you could say the Brooklyn, what was it? Dallas would be facing Milwaukee in the first round.
That'd be
Well,
really exciting
well,
too.
I was gonna say
See, that'd
bringing
be so
up
much
that.
better for the league.
Yeah, because bringing up the point, because the Phoenix Suns went in the bubble went on, what was it, a 9-0 win streak or an 8-0 win streak? It
8-0.
was something 8-0, yeah. Just imagine like bringing that 8-0 win streak into the playoffs as like a high seed. They could have upset or a 1 or 2 seed if they were like a 15 or 16, depending on like where they would be. They could have they could have made so much noise. That would have brought in super great viewership for the NBA, which is that's something they're desperately needing, because they only had like 5 million people on average watch last year's finals.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, they lost 75% of their viewership. Like that's really concerning. At least I would be if I was Adam Silver.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I think that hits it pretty on the nose for that topic. We got 2 more quick ones to do. We got a couple more minutes left on the video.
Yep, nail on the head.
So we'll do this one pretty quick. I think this is gonna be another unanimous one. So for the college basketball, obviously we saw the past couple of days, we saw Gonzaga face Baylor. Gonzaga didn't play their best game, and as you could tell, I mean Gonzaga was pretty good this year. You know, they looked out of sorts. So the recommendation that we brought up as a group was, instead of being a 1-game national championship, if you make the national championship, it should be a 3-game series. Because now just imagine Gonzaga figures it out for game 2, like, okay, we did this wrong in game 1. But it's like, that's the whole point of the tournament. I understand. It's a 1-game elimination tournament. It shouldn't be touched. We're not saying it should be touched. I'm just saying it'd be cool.
It would allow the better
better.
team to truly win it in the finals at least.
Exactly. Technically,
But I
I would
wouldn't want to
still
mess
say
with March Madness,
yeah,
because the
Gonzaga's
1-game
March,
format is amazing, and it's what
March
makes
Madness
it
is
like
perfect.
March Madness. Yeah,
March
we
Madness
would
is
have.
still a fun.
Yeah, we would have never seen like if 3-game series. We probably would have never seen UCLA make it as far, but obviously, they'd just never mind.
No, yeah,
Scratch that.
I know what you mean.
I just think the championship should be a 3-game round, because truly, like, as a journalism major, like, like before you put out a news story, you have to have a second you have to have a second source to back up the first one. I believe it can go the same way with March Madness with the championship game. You saw Baylor win the first time, but can they really beat Gonzaga a second time? And that second game would prove if they can do it. And then, if it's 1-1, the third game is really going to prove it. It's really going to show like what the players are made for, who's really going to step up to the spotlight.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much unanimous decision between the group. I mean, we all said kind of the same thing with our different opinions. I mean, especially Josh, a Gonzaga fan. I think Josh would really be wanting the 3-game series to happen for this year. Unfortunately, it won't ever go through, but it's just a cool concept to go through. And then the last topic we want to get through, we got another 3.5 minutes. The last thing, well, it's not really a topic, I guess. We want to know, or we're going to say our next iconic athlete. I guess every sport, I mean, you think of basketball, you think of LeBron, Steph Curry. You know what I mean? Those are iconic athletes. Same thing with baseball. It's Mike Trout, Fernando Tatis Jr., guys like that. Juan Soto. Same
Right.
thing. You guys know.
Even Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, you guys are going to get the spiel for all the sports. So basically, we're all going to say our next athlete, like our next iconic athlete. Who's going to be the next guy that comes in and is like, takes over?
Someone who's not drafted yet, or are we going with
it could be whoever you want. You could be a young
Okay.
guy that you think is going to glow, like break out over the next couple of years and be that guy. It could be
Gotcha.
a guy that committed to Gonzaga and hasn't even played there yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I can go first. I'd probably say the two people that comes to mind for me. I want to actually do one and one. I'm going to do one for guys and one for women. For the guys, I would say John Morant, because when you watch him play, he just has fun out there. Like he really enjoys the game of basketball. He has a crazy ability that very few players can that very few players have. He kind of brings back a kind of Allen Iverson kind of physique, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And he has a
Skinny,
clean
fast
slate.
guy with great
Yeah,
handles.
he has a clean slate. Also, very likable. Good influence. Has never gotten arrested before and stuff like that, because that seems to be a growing trend in the NBA right now. But I'd probably say for women, I would go with the tennis player Osaki. Do you know who that
oh,
Yeah, I
is?
know she
she's
is.
the super young one.
Yeah, she's like
Yeah,
She dates that
she's
rapper,
yeah.
yeah, she's like I think like 18 maybe. She just turned 18. But
Corday, I
yeah,
think, right? Yeah, Corday.
yeah, but again, yeah, very likable, like great role model, and a great inspiration to women, especially because now they're trying to increase women's sports. And
Yeah.
frankly, I agree with that. And I think that's a great way to get them involved.
Who would be your pick, Josh? We have another minute and a
Um,
half left.
it's really hard not to say Zion or Luca, considering, they're probably uh the two most talked about young players in the world, honestly. I think their rookie cards are both like, over $1,000. You're gonna struggle finding something cheaper than that.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's really hard not to say them, and their playing styles just speaks for itself,
yeah.
and what they do on the court,
I totally
for
agree. I
that
totally
matter.
agree with that one. If I were to pick, I mean, I'll go a different sport because you guys pick basketball players and the tennis player, the woman. So I'm gonna go with a baseball player. I'm gonna pick either Fernando Tatis Jr. or Juan Soto, just because those are the two new those are like the two new flashy toys. Like those are gonna be the guys like the Mike Trout. Like Mike Trout,
Right.
he's already in his 30s. He's gonna be playing a long time. Obviously, he's still got plenty of time. But those guys that are gonna be pushing up on his name, like him and Mookie Betts' name, to be like the top talked about guy in jersey sales and stuff like that. That's what
Yeah, absolutely.
the kids now like like flashy stuff. That's just how it is. So if you can provide the flash, that's just how it is. You're going to be talked about. And I
Yeah.
think they're not only that, they're stars in the game. They're one of the better players, one of the better shortstops, better outfielders and stuff. So I think those would be my picks. And then if I were to pick a girl, I'd pick Paige Beckers from UConn because I
Yeah,
mean
absolutely.
she's an absolute stud. I mean, it
Yeah,
sounds very original.
she's sensational
Yeah,
out there on the court.
it sounds very, original. She's been one of the most viewed YouTube people through her high school for like past 4 years.
She also just won, what was it, College Athlete of the Year for
Yeah, she
women's.
just for a freshman too, pure
Yeah.
freshman. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with picking either of those three people or the
Yeah, I
people
agree
we
with that.
picked.
Would you pick it? Well, like, what about for NFL players though? Who would you pick?
NFL,
Like Devontae Smith coming up, or Justin Jefferson, or other positions as well.
I'll go Justin Fields.
Yeah, you think so?
I think Justin Fields is being very underappreciated. I feel like there's also slightly a race issue with that as well. On top of it, I feel like nobody's really talking about him for one. They're trying to put something on him to make him drop in the draft for some reason. For him to be not picked in the top three picks is kind of unfathomable. Whoever's going to get him after the top three picks, because it looks like he's going to go Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and now Mac Jones third for some reason. So I don't know. If Atlanta gets him, Carolina or something like that, good. They just got the best quarterback in the draft. So that's me. If I'd pick him. I think he's the next best guy, like a Mahomes esque player.
Yeah, me personally, I'm probably gonna have to go with Justin Jefferson or Devontae Smith for the NFL. Two, like, crazy good receivers.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Kyle, do you have a pick before we end it up?
For me, 'cause here's the thing though. I don't think running backs get the respect that they deserve. Most of the
No,
time,
they never do.
when you see a Super Bowl winning team, they have at least a very contributing running back. So if this person was to get traded to, an up and coming team, for example, let's say the Rams. If this person went to the Rams, they would be an automatic Super Bowl contender. I would expect them to be in the Super Bowl. I would say Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I don't. Those are two pretty good picks too. I would roll
Yeah, I
with
just
that.
feel like McCaffrey, he's already established, so I mean, obviously he's still pretty young too, but
We'll say this, Kyle. What
like he's already a
rookie?
superstar.
We'll say this. What rookie? What do you think? Who has the best chance quickly? Who do you think has the best chance of being like the next big name out of this rookie draft for NFL?
Truly,
You say running backs are disrespected, so would you go with a guy like Najee Harris or Etienne or something like that? Or
I'd probably say Harris.
yeah, he's a stud.
Well, he was the most talked. Well, between him and Dejene, those two were really the most talked about. And frankly, like if you try to name any others, they'd just be like, who's that again? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's very unfortunate. I think running backs should be more talked about because they can really have fantastic games and they really can be a deciding factor if you put them in that position.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. But yeah, I think that hits on all our topics for the second new video in the series. We're going to start with the gameplays and a bunch of different games. Hopefully, you guys enjoy these. Maybe you guys even enjoy these more. I mean, if you guys like these more, we just keep doing them every week like this. I mean, we're still going to do a podcast style format. That's not going to change because obviously this is what we want to do. This is what we talk about. So, like we've all said, we want your opinions. We want constructive criticism. We want you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And we want more future podcast ideas. We want you as the viewers to tell us what to do. Like, we want to answer your questions. We want to put our opinions out there based off what you want answered. So if you guys have podcast ideas, any topics we want to hit on, we'll write them down. We're going to get to all of them. So
Yeah, make sure you comment it down in the section. We'll definitely give you a shout out.
yeah. And then, like you guys already know, make sure you guys, if you guys are going to Anthony's Jewelers, you guys know, let us know. And let us know how it goes. Refer to us if you guys go from us. So I hope you guys have a good night. And we're the podcast team. I'm Aaron. And we got Josh and Kyle. And you guys have a good night.
Thank you for tuning in.